So after college, I needed to go to Europe. You know, travel is broadening. I wasn't really sure what that meant, but I felt like I needed it after college. So I decided I needed to go to Europe, but my plans were not going along very well. I couldn't really find anybody to go with me. None of my college roommates were really in it. And then Grandma Teresa, who anybody that watched Story Slam last month, clearly who had never heard my father's story of the first time he traveled across the country, said, "Oh no, that's a great idea. You should totally go with Kathy." I'm like, "Kathy? My second cousin who I was pen pals with in 5th grade but haven't seen for 10 years?" And she's like, "Yeah, you guys would be great." Okay, all right, great. So I was gonna go with Cousin Kathy. Cousin Kathy was already in Europe, in Stockholm, and I looked at tickets to Stockholm, very expensive. Tickets to Oslo, Norway, not nearly so expensive. It's just one small little country away, and all I had to do was fly to Oslo, Norway, by myself, never having been out of the country, and take a night train from Oslo, Norway, to Stockholm. Totally simple. I could do this. My adult self goes, "Oh, what was I thinking?" But I got to Oslo, no problem. Let's go Europe, under my arm. Gonna take a little sightseeing trip before I get on the night train to go to Stockholm. And I get on the bus, and I'm sitting on the bus, carefully scrutinizing all the stops so I can get off. And the bus stops, and the woman next to me, my first close encounter on my trip, says something to me in Norwegian. And she must have known I was American by the look on my face, probably of stupidity. And she said, "I need to get off the bus." I was blocking her way out, and I was like, so I felt like I was being broadened already, right? Language was clearly something that I had to get used to. So the rest of the trip was really amazing. Like I like to tell my kids, not every second, but as a whole, it was very amazing. And so when my husband and I graduated from medical school, we were like, okay, we got to do this. You need to be broadened. So we're going to go over to Europe. And we made a plan to do 2 special stops. Because those kind of close encounters had really been my favorite part of that trip. And so our first special stop was in Paderborn, Germany, where the Horenkamps had come from back in the 1850s. And so my little plan in my mind was that I was going to take a picture of myself next to a gravestone that had Horenkamp on it. I don't know, that sounds kind of morbid, but I thought that would be kind of a cool souvenir to have. And so we take a train to Paderborn, Germany, and we're walking around, and we can't find a cemetery. It's not in Let's Go Europe where you find the cemeteries in Paderborn, Germany. But we walk by clearly the man who sells the tombstones in Paderborn, Germany. Well, he'll know where to go find the cemetery. And so we go up. David speaks some German. I show him my passport. He kind of figures out what we're there for, but he says, "Oh, no, I know Frau Horenkamp. I will take you to her house." And so he loads us in his station wagon, and he drives us to Frau Horenkamp's house, where there's a first communion party going on of a whole bunch of Horenkamps that I've never seen, that looks nothing like my family. We don't really speak the language, but they bring us in. They feed us. They welcome us. There's lots of toasting and things that I don't understand, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful day. So our second big stop was the home of Svetiks, my husband's family name, in Robertafalu, which is part of Hungary, which is a little harder to get to than Paderborn, Germany. So we have to take a train to a bus to a taxi, and we get there, and nobody speaks English. Nobody speaks German except for one guy who's a student who's asleep, and I'm not sure how we even figured that out. But we're walking around. Again, we show them the passport. It's got Svetik on it, and there is a World War I memorial in the center of town, and we know this because David's uncle's been there, that says Ernesto Svetik on it, which is the namesake of my husband's father. And we show them the passport. Instantly, without any language, they figure out what we need. And so they take us to the statue. Meanwhile, they get the guy who speaks German. They take us on a tour of the whole town. And every house we go in, they give us some food, and we have to taste their homemade grappa. I don't know if you know what grappa is, but I now know what grappa is, and I had a lot of it that day. So we had like a parade by the end of the day of all the people that had fed us grappa, including one really cute little woman with a Statue of Liberty statue, and every time people came, she'd go, "America, America, America," with her Statue of Liberty. And we got to the end of the town, we get to the tavern, we buy the whole town a drink, we toast in language that I still don't understand. Somebody got us a taxi, took us all the way back to the train, because there's no way we would have survived the bus. And the train all the way back to Vienna is going like this, but a beautiful memory. So language, it's hard. Welcome is easy to recognize. So when we had kids, I really thought we really want to take them. I want them to get broadened. I want them to experience this. And so as soon as they were all big enough to drag successfully their own suitcases, we took them to Switzerland. Somebody told us that's a great place to start. There's cities, there's mountains, there's French, there's German. You can do this. We got to Zurich. We get everybody on a boat, trying to not have everybody fall asleep as soon as we get there. And we get there, and Jack, who's 9, says, I gotta go to the bathroom. And Toiletten is pretty easy to figure out in German. And Adam, take your brother to the bathroom. And so they head toward the Toiletten sign. They're gone for a little while. They come back, and they're smirking. And I'm like, guys, what happened? And so they had walked down the steps, and they had been confronted with 2 signs. No stick figures. Herren. Damen. Herren. Damen. So Adam says, so Damen is not Damens. So I'm like, guys, this is great. Like, we've been here an hour, and you figured out, like, the language thing, you can't make assumptions, and I knew they'd figure out the welcome in any language is still pretty wonderful. And they did.